Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Dennis Baylor, and I'm the Overdose Prevention Program Director here at Project Live and Renew. I'm also founding co-chair of the Racial Equity Working Group. The Racial Equity Working Group is one of the working groups that advise the Governor's Overdose Prevention and Treatment Task Force. And it's my pleasure to welcome you all to our beautiful space. I want to thank Governor McKee, Attorney General Verona, Senate Majority Leader Mccarthy, and Representative Slater for selecting our office to sign this important legislation which changes simple drug possession of certain controlled substances to a misdemeanor instead of a felony. We also want to give special thanks to the many lawmakers and advocates, for their tireless work on this and other issues that are so important to improving the lives of individuals who suffer from substance use disorder and other related issues. Here at Project Live and Renew, this law hits home directly with our clients and to our staff directly. It hits home for me personally because I too am deemed as a felon. I'm a felon as a result of a bad traffic stop in which the police officers found less than $40 of a controlled substance in my vehicle. As a direct result of this felony classification, I have been denied housing, and I have also been denied employment. But I've been fortunate that I was able to overcome those barriers. But make no mistake about it, there are certain individuals out here who will not be able to overcome those barriers. Again, I've been very fortunate. And also, as a result of being a felon, I realize that as a black man in America, whenever I get into an engagement with law enforcement, that felony is going to pop up on their screen. And right away, fear, judgment, and stigma is going to make that engagement negative from the very start. Here at Project Live and Renew, we are a harm reduction and recovery services organization. This means that we provide street outreach, basic needs, case management, and overdose prevention services for a range of people who use drugs, who engage in sex work, and who are also homeless. We have 3 drop-in centers, one in Pawtucket, one in Olneyville, and this beautiful location here that you're currently sitting in. All of the services that we provide are delivered by peers. This means people who are in recovery and who have experienced homelessness, who are HIV positive, or who have experienced criminal justice system, or many people fill all of these criteria at once. I myself am a man living in recovery. I'm in long-term recovery myself. If you look at one of the windows outside of our space, you'll see the statement, health, safety, and support live here. And it does. Health, by way of the peer-led recovery, harm reduction, and HIV prevention services we provide here, those are public health issues. Health in the sense of people having access to employment and being able to pay for things that are good for their health. This drug reclassification will reduce barriers to employment. Safety in the sense that because we pride ourselves in making sure people feel safe, we don't judge, stigmatize anyone who walks through these doors. Safe because we provide tools like fentanyl test strips, masks, and hand sanitizer, many other harm reduction services such as Narcan and safe injection kits. People feel safe here because we know that housing is safety. And by reclassifying drug possession charges, people are more likely to get that safety in housing. And support in the way that we connect with our peers, the way that we refer people to detox treatment and help people with housing. sober living or otherwise, supporting our advocacy work and involvement with legislation such as this. We've been at the State House, we've been in the chambers, we've testified at these hearings, as individually and also as an organization. We push for change, and we want to thank you for this change. It is definitely one of the steps in the right direction that will improve the health, safety, and support for all Rhode Islanders. So at this, I want to thank you for listening, and at this point, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our governor, Governor McKee, who's going to speak from this point. Thank you.
Dennis, thank you for sharing your work and your life experiences. I think that we learn by both, right? We learn by both. Certainly today, I coach many young kids that would benefit from what we're going to sign today, and several of them have done really well, and a couple of them have not done so well. So as a result of some of the early difficulties that they had in their own personal life. So thank you for sharing your story and for the great work that you provide here in this facility at Weber Renew for people in the state of Rhode Island. I want to recognize Attorney General Peter Nerona for his leadership. Peter, thank you so much for your steadfast and very deliberate and decisive points that you're making, and thank you for being here today to support this legislation. I also want to thank Leader Michael McCaffrey as well as Representative Scott Slater for championing and ushering through the General Assembly process legislation that will have such a give an opportunity for meaningful lives for many people in the state. I believe in good and fair criminal justice system, but the law itself is not always fair. This legislation helps to change that by breaking the cycle for people who are suffering from addiction. And what better time to do this than now during this National Recovery Month? As governor, I understand the importance of public safety, but I also know this is an issue of public health. When someone is suffering from addiction and gets treatment rather than prison time, they have the opportunity to turn their lives around. Successful treatment can lead to recovery, which leads to jobs, which leads to a happy and healthy home life. And right now we're giving them that opportunity, people that opportunity. With this legislation, I know we will protect families by giving fathers, mothers, sons, and daughters in need of help access to services that can help them. We'll also allow law enforcement to better serve our communities by letting them focus their resources on taking dangerous drug dealers off of our streets. That means safer communities for all of us in all 39 cities and towns in the state of Rhode Island. I commend everyone involved in this legislation for making a commitment to public health, for recognizing where change was needed to benefit our communities, and for taking steps forward, breaking down barriers to recovery. Now it's my distinct pleasure to welcome to the podium someone who fights to protect our communities every day, not just with this legislation, but every day in the work in the General's office. Please, Peter, come on up. Attorney General Peter Nerona.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you for your leadership on this issue. You know, there's so many people to thank for getting us here today. I mean, I'm going to start with AJ and Haley and Lisa, who sat and talked to me about this issue before I became Attorney General, and how important this was to changing the lives of so many, and where this charge, this crime of possession of a small amount of narcotics for personal use should fit in our criminal justice system. You know, that system has evolved over the years. I mean, when I was a young prosecutor, I've been a prosecutor since 1996. When I was a young prosecutor in the Attorney General's office, As many of you know, it was illegal to possess a needle and syringe. That was a 5-year felony. So to possess a needle and syringe with no drugs at all was a 5-year felony. And because of the work of many of the people in this room, and I don't see Dr. Jody Rich here, but if he was, I would call him out personally, because he really advanced that principle. I was a prosecutor who sent people to jail for possessing a needle and syringe with no drugs back in the late 1990s. And it's a reminder to me that we can never think too often about how our system must change to do better and more justice. And this bill does that. This bill doesn't protect drug dealers. It makes them the focus of our law enforcement efforts. What it does do is give people who are in the cycle of addiction an opportunity to get through that cycle by changing the law from a 3-year felony to a 2-year misdemeanor, so that when they emerge on the other side of this healthcare issue, that they are better positioned to move forward in their lives in a way that is productive and meaningful for them. They can better provide for their families, and it's better for all of us as a society and as a community as well. So this is an enormous step forward, I think, for the people of the state of Rhode Island. And I'm really encouraged by the results we're seeing already, and I'm really optimistic about the future. I would be remiss if I did not thank Leader Mccarthy and Representative Slater for standing with me in February of 2019 to announce the initial version of this legislation. Their support and the support of Chair Craven in House Judiciary and Chair Coyne of Senate Judiciary to get this through the hearings and get it to the floor for a vote where there was overwhelming bipartisan support is incredibly encouraging about the future of our state. And I want to thank the governor. There was not a moment of hesitation on the governor's part. He understood exactly how important this was and got this over the finish line. So this is a great day for Rhode Island. We are moving in the right direction. We're going to focus the resources of the office on where it needs to be, on violence and drug trafficking, and those who need help are now going to get it. So this is a great day. I'm really thrilled to be here. I'm great to be back at Project Weber Renew. I was here for the opening of this great place 2-3 years ago. It's a great place to make this announcement. It's a great day. So let's celebrate it together, and let's go forward and continue to do the great work. So with that, I'm going to introduce now my friend, Senate Majority Leader Michael Mccarthy, who, as I said, was instrumental in getting us here today. So, Leader.
It's certainly an honor and a pleasure to be here this morning at this bill signing, but this started, as the Attorney General said, a number of years ago over at the Rhode Island Traffic Tribunal with a press conference, and it came a long way since then. As you know, for years we've been working on effective justice reform in the state of Rhode Island, and that begins with recognition that oftentimes people have addictions that lead to their crimes, and these addictions are what we have to address. Branding individuals as felons, as Dennis has said here today, affects them in their life going forward. This bill right here will allow that to change so that in the future years, after they complete their programs, they won't have a felony on their record. They'll have a misdemeanor on their record that they may in the future be able to expunge. But when someone looks at someone's record, when they go online and look at their record and they see a misdemeanor versus a felony, it goes a long way and it opens up a lot of doors. The policies that we're doing here are decriminalization and defelonization and moving more towards treatment versus incarceration are important in that it helps society in the long run. Rather than having to pay for someone to be incarcerated in prison and getting their treatment in prison, we're keeping them out, we're keeping them in the community, we're keeping them with their families and allowing them to be able to work and move forward there. This legislation today wouldn't have passed had it not been for the hard work of my colleague in the House, Representative Slater, but we also must thank the governor for his support of the bill, and more importantly, the Attorney General coming out early on and saying this is something that I can support, this is something that I'm going to move forward with, because I realize that it's important to take care of the issues that people are having rather than incarcerate them. However, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the advocates, AJ and Haley, who would constantly be knocking at my door saying, what can we do to move this along? Are there any changes that we can make to move it along? But it was their hard work and dedication, as well as a number of people in this room who kept reaching out to us, they were able to push this legislation across the finish line and we're here today to have a celebration when the governor signs this bill. And at this point in time, I'd like to welcome to the podium my colleague in government, Representative Slater, who did a bang-up job on the House on this legislation. Representative Slater, welcome.
Thank you very much, and this is a wonderful afternoon for the not only the state of Rhode Island, but the city of Providence, and so many folks that are in the recovery community and that have dealt with addiction. Not only those that deal with it, but their family members. This bill is really very important to me. It's something that I had as a priority for maybe the last 3 years. But I wouldn't be able to get here without thanking so many others that have helped me. And it was so special to hear your story, Dennis, and how this bill would have helped you at the time when what was going on in your life. It's crazy to hear that you ended up with a felony for small amounts of drugs, you know. This is the intention of this bill, is to help you and all the work you've been doing. But thank you for hosting us and Web Renew and all the work that you do here, Dennis. Thank you to the governor for, as everyone said, quickly signing this and understand the importance of this legislation, and the AG who jumped onto this as soon as he got in and made this one of his legislative priorities, which really helped with making this possible and much easier to get through. And my colleague and the majority leader on the Senate side, how great it's been to work with you on this bill over the last few years. You've been a champion not only of this, but so many criminal justice reforms and issues that helps so many in our community. And I would never be here too if it wasn't for getting this bill done without the Speaker of the House, Joseph Mccarthy. I don't know if he could be here this afternoon, but he was instrumental. Majority Leader Chris Blazajewski was able to join us today, who signed on to this bill very early, even before he was the Majority Leader. Chairman Craven, who met with me, worked with the advocates, worked with everyone to make sure we got this bill to the place where we needed to be and that it could get overwhelming support from my colleagues on the floor. So thank you, Chairman Craven. Not only this, but so many other important social justice reforms that you've been a champion of. And as the Senate Majority Leader mentioned earlier about the advocates and the folks that were there since the beginning. I remember probably maybe 3 years ago or 4 years ago when I met with Anna Jane downtown to talk about this bill early on in its infancy, and I said, this is something I really would love to be the sponsor. And she said, well, we'll see. I think the AG is going to make this a priority. So I said, that would be wonderful. And so the substance use education and prevention pack, they've done such a wonderful between Anna Jane and Haley. Thank you for your advocacy. And we also have Councilwoman Mary Kay Harris from the city of Providence. I think we're in her ward over here. So thank you for all the work you do for the city of Providence and the state of Rhode Island. And just wonderful and happy to be here for this bill signing, and it's something that's going to help out, I think, so many folks in recovery, but also so many family members that want to make sure they can help them in that recovery and get them to be productive in our society, so and not criminalize substance abuse. So thank you. Appreciate it. I think that's it. I think it was the last one, so we can get on to the bill signing. So thank you.
we'll sign this today and we'll keep the good work going, right? Slater? Right.
Right here.
Right on. I'll go
Thank you so much.
Hold on to that with the pen. And, you know, these events are meant to highlight the work that's going on in the community, positive work that's going on in the community, as well as the work that's going on in the General Assembly to address issues that are of importance to the community. So thank you all for being here today. Okay, Senator, where are you, Senator? Where? Senator, and hold this up for the legislation there, and thank you all for being here.
Ken Blazewski. Hi, Pat Ford, Coalition Radio. Quick related question to today's event. Given the influx of federal money, is it going to be possible to allocate at least a tiny portion to having a permanent budget item for Narcan?
So we are having hearings before our ARPA study commission, as well as we'll have finance committee hearings. There's also going to be input that we're going to receive from a lot of organizations. So I would encourage anyone that supports that program to come in and testify before House Finance so we can get all the different ideas about how to best use these funds, including prevention, childcare, housing, lots of different issues that are very important in the state of Rhode Island.
So would you support that?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a great use of funds, but again, it really requires the Finance Committee to come together, do the work, get all the testimony in, and hear from the public.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Leader McCaffrey.
Okay, all right.
Mr. McCaffrey, Leader McCaffrey.
Yes.
Pat Ford, Coalition Radio. I don't think we've met. Quick question for you. With this amount of federal money that's coming in, will you support some allocation of that for Narcan?
I believe we're going to study everything, and obviously the Narcan is an issue that will help substance abuse, and I would certainly encourage the governor to propose that in the legislation he's going to put forth at some point in time.
Congratulations on your support of this legislation.
Thank you very much. Glad you're here to cut this.
She's so shy.
All right, now everybody look here. Hang on. Governor, this is a celebration today. Some wonderful legislation, years in the making. On a related note, Narcan, is it possible that you as an office and the legislature will commit to including Narcan financing in the federal money? Is that possible? And would you support it?
Yeah, so all the issues that have to do with addiction, mental health, you're talking about the federal dollars that we haven't been able to spend yet, right?
Right.
Yes. In our strategy, there's certainly areas in mental health and addiction that can be addressed, on a short-term basis because it's funding for about 3 years. We just got to be careful that, programs we fund out of those dollars are not ongoing programs that we can't fund in the future. So, yes, the answer is yes, but I think that we also can do that internally with our regular budgets.
And Governor, with this bill, you said, you would like to see resources go to bigger issues. I know you touched on some of them today, but what issues would you like to see, being tackled now that you have more resources as a result of this bill?
What, in terms of the addiction issue in particular, or in terms of the overall federal dollars that
addiction
that we get?
Issue.
Yeah. So I think it's what you heard today from Dennis, right? It's about treatment, it's about education, it's about providing opportunities for everybody that lives in the state. Those who are struggling need paths to make sure that they're not incarcerated, but they're employed and they're able to raise their families and live a healthy life. So I think that the time right now is a moment where there's a reassessment on the value of certain, of our human capital, of the people who live in the state of Rhode Island. Investing in everyone makes a lot of sense, and that's why we're here today to create a path that's, that has has an end that, shows a real positive, ending in terms of employment, raising family, being good people in the community that support and make our communities healthy.
And then a separate topic here, harm reduction centers bill. I know that's been passed. When can we start seeing those centers, physically?
Well, I think we need to have a plan. I'm not sure the date. I think it's in the spring of next year. So we're starting to meet and corral the group that the legislation called for, and I know that we're assembling that now to start that process. This is a quick but not in a hurry type of operation. We want to make sure we get it right. We want to make sure it's a healthy option. And we're also looking at other states. Massachusetts is entertaining that idea right now. We want to partner in with as many people as we can to make sure that it's a very positive thing for our state and in a way that helps people.
Completely unrelated
Yes.
question aside from this. A bunch of schools in Massachusetts, including New Bedford, are going to start offering like in-school COVID testing
Yes.
for students. Are there any plans to implement something like that in Rhode Island?
So that's a test and stay program. I had a fairly lengthy conversations today, 2 calls, one with our Department of Health and the COVID team that's been working on that. Also with Ride and the Commissioner Infante Green. So we're looking at all those options. The idea is to keep more kids in school that are not infected, and I think that we will see a discussion and potentially some sort of pilot in that test and stay. But we're also reviewing. I met with at least 2 superintendents this week, had discussions with them in different communities that are concerned about having their students out of the classroom when they could be safely in the classroom, and we got to figure out the protocols that will make that happen.
Thank you.
One quick question, Governor. Yesterday was a major, if you will, economic policy statement at Patio on Main in East Greenwich. Wondering what, and in a sense, a lot of folks saw that as you drawing a line in the sand, starting to allocate this money, particularly on behalf of small business. Have you gotten much reaction from the General Assembly yet?
Well, I mentioned that we'll be meeting, and we've had ongoing meetings on this too as well. So we've been meeting regularly over the summer on these issues. I think that we all kind of have an understanding, both leadership and our office, that we need to make good things happen with those dollars, and we expect that part of the issues that we want to do is have a good economy. To have a good economy, we've got to support our small businesses, and that's just one of the many issues that we need to address. So I would expect that we'll be putting a budget amendment in as currently being requested by the General Assembly leadership, and we're going to go from there.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.